My name is John Njovu. I'm the coordinator for EvalIndigenous Voice project in Africa. I would like to welcome you to this recording. I want to hear from you, your experiences in evaluation, what have been your achievements, your challenges, and what you think about the direction that evaluation is taking in your own country, in the whole world. Maybe we start the interview by knowing who you are. What is your name?
Thank you, John. Thank you so much for inviting me to this interview. My name is Eddah Kanini. I come from Kenya. I'm a monitoring, evaluation, and gender consultant. And I also wear other hats. I'm a lecturer, an adjunct lecturer in one of our local public university in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm also in several networks or VOPEs, nationally one called Monitoring and Evaluation Professionals Association of Kenya, and regionally I'm in the Africa Evaluation Association, which is also known as AfrEA. And in both VOPEs, I sit in the board. So I do a lot of work in terms of evaluation, in terms of training, in terms of advocacy work for the evaluation among the upcoming evaluators, the young and emerging, basically. So that's me, John.
Okay, so who are your employers?
My employers, I would say, as a consultant, I work for a consultancy company called Consultancy for Organizational Development and Research. And as a university, I also work now for the university. Those are my employers. Of course, for the VOPEs, I would say that is a voluntary job. So as you can see, I'm very dedicated volunteering in this aspect.
In Kenya, which ethnic group do you belong to?
Thank you. Quite an interesting question. I belong to a small ethnic group called Meru, which is located in the eastern part of Kenya. It's a small one, I would say. It has 9 sub-dialects, if I could say, but they all understand one another. Maybe a little bit of accent, but they understand one another. So that is the Meru community.
So to you, what does being indigenous mean?
Quite interesting. To me, being indigenous, of course, it's having that being in a cultural community. Right from where I was born, I would say I'm an indigenous person because I was born in a community that really has been there for a long time, has been practicing quite a number of, I would say, traditional or indigenous practices and passing them on from grandparents to parents to their children, passing that knowledge, passing that ideas and the way of working. So that is really indigenous. It's not been so much contaminated by or influenced. Let me use the word influenced by the incoming of cultures from maybe the Western world, if I could politely put it.
So you were a minority ethnic group.
Yes.
Do you have, by any chance, local word meaning evaluation and monitoring?
The local monitoring and evaluation, let's say in my indigenous group, maybe when they were doing it, they didn't know they're doing monitoring and evaluation. The community used to do a lot of tracking their activities, tracking their knowledge, seeing how the things that they are passing to the generation are benefiting the generation and the community. So they really didn't know that they are doing monitoring or they didn't know that they are doing evaluation. But I would confidently say that that was there in being called other names, but evaluation was there.
They had ways of assessing.
Yeah, precisely.
So how did you learn that there were indigenous evaluation systems?
Growing up, John, you've asked a very good question. Because as I was growing up, I really loved stories. That is one thing I love up to date. And I loved sitting with my grandparents, both from maternal and paternal side. And they used to tell stories of what they have been doing and the stories they have been told. And so I would say maybe I learned from these stories, from the grandparents who told me those stories as they were told or brought down from generation to generation. And also my parents, especially the mother. The father was a little bit not a storyteller, but my mother also always passed that story to me. So that was one way that I learned the story. And also learning from the community, of course. I learned quite a lot from what I'm seeing the community doing, some of the things that, the cultures that are going on in the community. It was a way also that really opened my eyes. So I've learned from many perspectives.
That's very good. Yes, our parents taught us quite a lot of things. Yeah. Now, in your usual evaluation practice, who is in charge of the evaluations? Who commissions them and does them? Are your people involved? The communities, are they involved in the process?
Things have started changing, I would say, because previously what I saw, a lot of evaluation was done by the non-government organizations, those who are doing activities in the community. So they could do evaluation, I think, for their own good or to see or how the activities have been carried out. So the community was not so much involved. But as the years have gone by, I've seen a lot of involvement with the community. And I've also seen a change in the commissioners of evaluation. It's no longer only the non-government organization. I've seen also the local community-based organization commissioning evaluations and involving the communities in evaluations. So changes have come. Maybe they have been slow, but they are happening. But that is not how it was before. So I'll appreciate that changes are happening at the moment.
In your view, when was an evaluation done so well and what worked for the community?
I would say an evaluation that was done so well, which I really liked, was an evaluation that was commissioned by one African organization that is called AmRef. I think it's the only organization that started in Africa for Africans. And it spreaded even to Europe. So it's something that we can proudly say it was started here in Africa, and like the others who start outside and then they come. And it really involved the community in seeing how they assess not only the activities, but they assess also maybe the deaths. They go and see what caused a death of a person in the community. So the community was so much involved in that. And it really helped in lessening the deaths in very many ways, right from the maternal deaths, the elderly deaths, the children, because the community was, it's got maybe like a postmortem, a verbal postmortem. The community was so much involved. So it was a really nice, interesting evaluation, which I feel had an impact in the community because everybody was involved to see if it's a disease that has caused death and what they can do in curbing that disease. If it's an accident, if it's a fight, it was really involving.
Have evaluation been documented, and who does the documenting? Is it the evaluators, the community, or somebody else?
You asked a question on challenge. That would be one of the challenges. The documenting of evaluation. Because when the organizations do evaluation, the documentation is theirs. It really doesn't trickle down to the community. They don't know what was written, they don't know what was recommended. So the only thing that the community have, it's the knowledge they have and that they have been passing from one stage or one cohort to another. So the documentation is not so much there. Even the knowledge of the community has not been really documented and widely spread. So that is one of the challenges that really is in the community, the part of documentation.
What else do you find as a challenge, especially as an Indigenous evaluator in the evaluation practice?
I would say the fact that using that information from the Indigenous community, the doing of evaluations are good, but also there's not going deep into seeing how the Indigenous knowledge is contributing to development or is contributing to impact. sometimes the evaluations are done in a hurriedly manner so that they can complete and the report is written and it's passed over. I would have wished to see a lot of time being taken to see how the knowledge is contributing to the development or to the changes, to the impact in the community. That is a challenge also I've seen, and it's something that really would have been good to do. Then also the fact that when evaluation is done by somebody from outside, there is not that knowledge of the culture itself. As much as I would have loved to see even an outsider do the evaluation, but it would have been good if they come and mingle with the community and live a little bit longer with the community to learn more than just data collection and living. It would give a rich information. So those three challenges are the ones that I see they are still progressing, yeah.
And what do you expect from EvalIndigenous in the development of the practice of monitoring and evaluation?
EvalIndigenous, I would say it's a very good network. It's a network that have really helped in growing that Indigenous knowledge. One thing, it has people from diverse communities. So it's a really rich community where people share different ways of doing things in their own community. So this is one thing that really strengthens the Indigenous evaluation. Number two, the fact that EvalIndigenous is there, it's really helping in documenting like what you're doing now. It's helping in documenting those stories that have not been documented, that knowledge that has not been documented from the communities. No matter how few, it's an added advantage. So it's a strong point having EvalIndigenous. And my expectation is that people from all over will join this movement at least and grow in it. Yeah, and also help it grow, of course.
Is there any specific help that it can give you to resolve some of the challenges in Kenya?
I would say yes. Any support is so much welcome, whether in terms of in-kind, whether in terms of advice on how to document or to resolve or even to disseminate that knowledge. It's so much welcome. So any support, no matter how little, will go a long way in enhancing the Indigenous evaluation in Kenya.
Do you have any message to commissioners and VOPEs in Africa?
My final message to the VOPEs would be not to tire. It has contributed to a lot of development and impact in the lives of the Indigenous people. So it's something that should really be embraced. In any evaluation, let them be able to bring that theme or that concept of Indigenous knowledge in the evaluations. No matter whether it's agriculture, whether it's environment or climate change, all that needs to integrate the Indigenous. That's what I would give as a message.
Is there something you may have wanted to talk about, but I didn't cover in my questions?
I think, John, you have covered most of the things, and I'm very happy that this has come out. It has opened way for us to be able to, to express what is needed in Indigenous evaluations. So kudos again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sparing this time to be with me and enabling me to record your views.